Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the happy hour for summer. We're very excited to have everybody here and joining us for our June, almost July, hard to believe, happy hour. We have a number of things to talk about today. We're going to show you some new things as well. I know that's always a asked question. Are we going to see X or Y or Z? Well, I don't know which one of the X, Y, or Z's you're going to see, but I promise you, you'll be happy with some of the new things we're showing. And we're super excited to show and tell and both about First Blood and some of the updates and changes that we're making to that. But I'm going to give a little bit of time because I know that inevitably, having done this now for a bit, the first 5 minutes or so take a little bit of time for people to come in. So I'll, for lack of a better term, give people a chance to join by mentioning a few things that are coming up that theoretically anyways they already know about. We've had an incredible stretch of events in June. I think we've circumnavigated the globe as a team. Asia, North America, Europe. I don't think we had South America or Australia for an event in June. We had one in May, I know, in Australia. But, we had GameCon Canada and Edmonton. We had Origins in Columbus. We had Christoph at PeerCon in Poland. We had Evan and I last weekend at Table Conquest. We had Hunter at Origins. It's just been an incredible stretch, and it's been so wonderful to see so many of you starting the month off at UKGE as well. Really been very, very fun to get out and about. And coming up, we have War Games Con in Austin, Texas this coming weekend. We have Gen Con only frighteningly less than 4 weeks away, or I think exactly 4 weeks away. So Gen Con is going to be almost the end. It'll be the last OSWE for the Road to Heos. We'll have one event after that as a WCE, and that will end our season 3 of the Road to Heos. We've already started working on season 4 and what we will present some new items as well, and some of the what I will call fall holiday catalog. On August 8th will be the next happy hour. So you can tell your friends, tell your neighbors. It'll be a post Gen Con recap. We'll have a really good idea of who our 16 Sweet 16 will be to come to Heos and play some Conquest on a beach with some barbecue and some beers. Beach barbecue and beers. I don't think it gets a whole lot better than that, does it? Like by a group so far.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think you can get better than that for sure.
No. It's summer. Come on, let's get fired up. So I'm going to start off with showing a quick video of something I think you guys will be interested to see. Bear with me. I always am terrible, the old guy, showing off all these things, but I'm pretty excited to show you this. Can you see it yet or no?
Nope.
Nope. All right, hold on. Try that again. Oh, there we go. One more button. Now we have a bunch of people wanting to join. I'll let them in before I start the share. Yanni, you got that?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Now 4 more are waiting. There we go. They're all in now.
There you go.
John's in. All right, so let's hit share on this bad boy. Now, hopefully you can see it.
Yes.
Love it. How about Demo's paint job, huh? I mean, just stunning, stunning work. You all saw it, I hope, right? Hello?
No, it's honestly so good.
Oh, you did see it. Okay.
Better quality than the usual videos.
Thank you.
Much better.
No. I mean the video quality. It didn't stutter. It flowed.
Oh, all right. All right. I was like,
This is
Yeah.
better internet, Daryl. Yay.
So the Mahout comes in July. We will have him for Gen Con. Fingers crossed, because Gen Con is coming early this year. Darn it. But we'll do our best to have him available live at Gen Con, and he is up for pre-orders now. We'll show you a few more things from Sorcerer Kings that are coming, including an optional rider for him that is really cool. But for now, I'm going to turn it over for a little bit to Evan and Leo, who are going to bring you up to speed with some First Blood. We're going to go back and forth. So for those of you who are here for rules updates, you're still going to see pretty pictures in between. And for those of you who are here for the pretty pictures, you're not going to have to listen to all the rules updates. We're going to go back and forth. So there's a little bit of both. Keep it fresh, keep it interesting, because as you know, everything we're showing picture-wise plays in both games. Leo, Evan, floor is yours.
Thank you, Daryl. So welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. Somebody's here for both. That's the spirit. That's exactly what we want to hear. So yeah, this is going to be very First Blood focused. But first of all, I want to say a few things. For those of you that weren't following on on our previous happy hour, I want to introduce you to Evan, the newest addition to the rules design team. Evan is that missing link, allowing us to bring you even more infrequent, beautiful First Blood updates, right? Because there are a ton of things in store for Conquest First Blood. And the good thing is, you don't even have to wait until the next season starts. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. But first, a little bit of housekeeping, a little bit of general announcements. We want you to know that starting with the next season, Conquest First Blood will be part of our world program. That means you will be able to play to do World Community Event and officially sanctioned First Blood tournaments. We're going to talk what that entails and what that means for the World program in our next happy hour. So I just want to break the news right now that First Blood will be part of our World program. But of course, this cannot happen without some very interesting and very, 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 very great updates for Conquest First Blood. Some of them we're going to look today. So you can wait for those updates for as soon as Monday, but today we're going to give you plenty for you to see and talk over the weekend before the actual update starts. So, Evan, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. So I'm the guy in charge for First Blood. Right now I'm working with Leandros and the rest of the team to sort of bring you this update to you guys. So Leo has already mentioned sort of the, I guess the purpose of this this update, but I think I just want to tell you a little bit about the philosophy that goes behind this update. So we wanted to bring First Blood into a situation where everyone everything is quite balanced and everything is in a state where people can play it in a competitive setting. So we're introducing a lot of quality of life changes. We're trying to sort of also reduce the pace of the game to make it a bit more tactical, a bit more strategic. And also we're aiming to sort of tackle a little bit of the the low-hanging fruit in terms of the balance. A lot of the things, we looked at a lot of things starting from the game rule itself. Each of the factions are getting looked at. We are adding also new scenarios. There's a lot of work that goes beyond this. And first of all, I would like to thank you to all the members of the Playtesters team. I know some of you guys are here. They've all been very, very helpful throughout this journey. And I think we're not going to stop in just this one update. We're going to see more and more frequent updates.
Oh, heck yeah. We're going to have many, many more updates. Not getting away from that easy.
Of course. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce you a little bit to the A Realm Reborn update. So let's start first by showing.
I just want to say how Evan is actually more professional with naming these updates. My Sorcerer King update was a whole new world for all of those. I don't know. I'm not going to name the company references. I'm like, it's good to have somebody that's a little bit more professional when it comes to these things.
If you know the reference
on the last one, didn't I, Leo?
What's that? I'm sorry.
I think I sang on the last one for you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you know the reference of the this update, then yeah. All right, I'm still trying to find. Ah, here we go. I think it's this one. All right, cool. So with that in mind, let's talk about a little bit about some changes. I'm not gonna go through all the changes, obviously, because we don't have a lot of time. But I'm just gonna discuss in what it brings to the game and how we look at this, how we can definitely improve this experience of First Blood for you guys. So let's start first by looking at the base rule. So there's going to be two big changes to the base rule. And the purpose of these changes is sort of to make the game at a bit more of a more strategic phase. What we're looking for in a lot of First Blood games is that a lot of games tend just a big brawl in the middle. People don't really go for objectives. People right out of the gate can immediately go and charge. So we're trying to see and aim how we can sort of make the game into more strategic and more strategic in the first place. So the first big changes to the base rule is that if a regiment performs a second march action, then their march action characteristic is halved. Essentially, if you have a speed of 8, you then just move 8, and then if you decided to march a second time, you become a speed 4, so you move only 12. So this is important in the sense that we are still encouraging people to move. We're still encouraging people to take objectives early on and do some strategic play. But at the same time, we don't want a lot of movement to just happen across the board very, very fast. And in addition to this, we're also changing a little bit on how charging works. So previously, when you are declaring a charge in First Blood, you roll your March characteristic plus D6. So right now, we are removing the D6. So right now in First Blood, you have a fixed charge range. So any rules, for example, like Unstoppable, that gives you reroll to the charge, gives you an extra fixed charge distance on top of the charge. So for example, if you are March 5 and you're charging, if you have Unstoppable, you become March 7. So again, with these two sort of update goes hand in hand to ensure that the game remains at a manageable pace. This created a lot of interesting problems that we have right now in First Blood. One of them that I mentioned before. And the second of all is to ensure that I know a lot of people have been saying that range unit doesn't really have a role in First Blood, because then you already, you start shooting already around 2, and then by the end of round 2, the lines are already engaged. So with this update, we're trying to slow down the game a little bit to give range unit reasons to be brought into the game, whether it be to sort of kite people from objective or sort of just to give threat. But we want all units to be to have a role in First Blood, and this is one of the sort of the philosophy that we did in order to sort of slow down the game. Of course, I think we teased this also a little bit, but now you can shoot monsters. Monster can be engaged, cannot be engaged, but monsters are big. We want them to be. We know the impact of monsters in First Blood, and we want to sort of give a sort of a natural predator to the monsters in the form of range units.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you for the overview. I want to give a little bit of context for players out there from more like a little bit more big picture perspective. So essentially, so far, everybody that's been playing First Blood has been noticing that things get engaged very quickly. Everybody fights in the center, and it's very difficult, to really fight and really use your ranged unit, as Evan said. And of course, the feedback that we've gotten from playtesting and from players overall, and many of your suggestions was, have ranged work while already engaged. Now, what's important, and we really do want to communicate this sort of design approach, is that we took a step back and we realized, the problem doesn't really lie in ranged combat itself. The challenge that we had, let's say the puzzle that we had to solve, was more of a movement puzzle rather than a ranged puzzle. And in that particular case, we saw essentially that movement or the speed with which movement happened was actually what caused a lot of these issues. So by making this fundamental change at this basic level, we are now more able to control the flow of the game. And to a very good comment that Brad wrote in the comments, although there's no D6 on the charts and there's no that random element on the charts, what is very important to remember and what is different with Conquest First Blood than other games, there's two things. First of all, now range becomes a tool for you to dislodge your opponent out of that prepared fixed distance that they keep from your regiments. And number two, the Yugo-Aigo system that the Conquest, let's say, game universe has inherently really changes the dynamic when it comes to mathing out these positions. So we're going to look at a very interesting competitive environment for First Blood, and we're very excited to share it.
Thank you, Leo. So again, I'm not going to go through all the massive changes, but I think one big update that we're changing, and I think it's still, I think a lot of players are having difficulties in both understanding how the rule works and sort of just to even gamify how it works in the first place is Aura of Death. So Aura of Death used to work in a model-to-model engagement basis, which is, in theory, it's interesting, and it's visually representing the amount of things that are causing this Aura of Death, either it be by flame or by like the power of the undead. Now, we sort of that was the initial aim for the rules to sort of make that happen. But as time goes on, it then becomes a massive issue where a lot of units with Aura of Death tend to just have a play pattern of move and charge to get as many models as in contact as possible. And that creates this massive amount of 8, 10, 12, 14 hits with Aura of Death, something that we were trying to avoid. So the way that Aura of Death now works is just that it's one fixed amount per regiment. So it's no longer on a model per model basis. And as you can see in some of the updates later on Monday, is that the numbers of Aura of Death has been increased. For example, from Aura of Death 1 into Aura of Death 3 or 4, but it goes to the regiment instead of it being the individual model. So this is also a sort of massive change that we're doing in terms of the base rule, just to make the game a little bit less complex in the sense that we don't want to check per model. Like, you know, it already creates a very bad game where you just sort of look and go, okay, there's 3 models, I'm being engaged by 5 models, that means it's 2 times 5, that's 10 Aura of Death. So we wanted sort of like just to remove that small bit of complication and just to sort of streamline the rules just a little bit. And this is part of the sort of the ongoing look at the quality of life improvement, and where we're looking at basically each and every rule that currently have. So if there are things that we miss and there are things that are being a cause or concern, of course, again, feel free to reach out and to check it out. So again, that's the base rule update. Leo, do you want to add anything into these ones?
No, I think Daryl would like to share a lot of great things, though.
I can show some new things. This feels like a good chance for a break. Evan can take a drink of water, and I can show you something pretty. Let's see. What would we want to show?
Drinking coffee at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. So I think I'll show the very interesting and beautiful, in my opinion, writer that we have created, which now won't open, of course, because that's the way computers work. Oh, that's great. It's spinning. I love that. Maybe do one more, and while I work on why my computer is doing the spinning wheel of death on me.
All right. So
thank you.
The second bit that we're looking at is also in the terms of the scenario that happens in First Blood. So there's a couple of elements, of course, to a game that you're going to see. Of course, number one is being the base rule itself. The second one would be the faction itself, and then the last one would be the scenario. Scenarios are very important because it tells you how to win And this is something that you would be interested in if you're trying to win a game. So we're trying to design a scenario that's more balanced, to ensure that if we are bringing this into a tournament level competition, where everybody has an equal chance to win, we wanted the scenario to be quite fairly balanced and fairly accessible to everyone. So we're not going to go through all these scenarios, but I'm just going to go and sort of explain some of the, I guess, the philosophy behind the 4 new scenarios that we have. So the first one that we are going to show is the relic retrieval one. So this particular scenario is, sorry. So this relic retrieval scenario is our sort of take on what we would do for a moving scenario. So we want people to sort of take a certain objective and then to sort of bring them and secure them. So it's not a static objective. It's an objective that sort of moves around and shifts across the battlefield as you go through and play the game. So it's more of a mobile scenario more so than our other ones. And I think this is an interesting take to a game of First Blood, where instead of you just moving in and seizing an objective, you're trying to move one objective sort of out of the way, and then the other ones will also as well. The second scenario that we're introducing today is called Fog of War. Now, this is a sort of a bit more of an interesting scenario in the sense that while First Blood, one of First Blood's signature things is that everything is deployed at the start of the game, whereas in this one, it is not everything starts at the board in the first round. So we have first in round 1, all light regiments march into the battlefield, round 2 medium, and round 3 heavy. So this creates an interesting decision making, especially when it comes to list building. Do you want to have more light units so that you can quickly, take over the game and start capturing all these objectives? Or do you want to start with a bit more of a medium heavy build, medium/heavy build, where you sort of just want to concede the early game, and then through the mid to late game, you then start moving around and roll across the objective. So this kind of scenarios will challenge players in how you build the list, and also to add relevancy to a lot of the class types that we have in First Blood, light, medium, and heavy, and how it works within the game scenario itself. And now I throw it back to Daryl to see if the spinny thing has.
I'm ready.
All right. So I think
ready.
this is a good
Now I've got something to show. So we showed the video of the Mahout, and I thought it would be fun to show you just the size overall of the Mahout compared to the Rajakur, in case you had not completely grasped the scale from the video.
I would say the Rajakur is very big as well.
Yeah, and the Rajakur is not a small model, but this gives you an idea. No banana this time. We went with the Rajakur. I take a lot of abuse for my bananas. Then we'll show you this picture next. I've got a little series here. I want to show some of the detail that you can put into the paintwork around the Mahout. And obviously, what's going to be fantastic about this is seeing the creativity from this community around, everybody's own theme of how they think this statue should really look. But the incredible detail that is sculpted into this, I think it's going to go over very, very well and be very exciting for people to get their hands on and truly be one of those things that even if people never play with it, they're going to love it for a very long time. And then I mentioned earlier the rider. So what comes with the Mahout are 4 Danur disciples, but here you have the mistress, and I always screw up the pronunciation, Leo, so help me.
So that is the favored of Hormuz, and many of you Sorcerer Kings player will be able to recognize that by the name of the mastery that allows the Maharaja to write one of those incredibly powerful creatures.
Favorite of Hormuz. I will eventually get it by the time it releases. Maybe we'll see. But look again the detail and just how elegant and how entitled she is. I think it's going to be awesome for people to enjoy, and for those who want some detail around her. Here you go. Even the pillows are cool.
Having seen that up close, I am so jealous of those pillows. I'm so jealous.
And as John Candy would say, those aren't pillows. Evan, back to you.
That's a very interesting transition right there, Daryl. All right. Let me just. How do I steal the screen back to you?
I unshare it. You should be good to go.
Cool. Yep. All right. So we've talked about some of the general rules update. We've talked about some of the scenarios. We have 2 more scenarios that we can quickly look. But my point is the design of a lot of these scenarios is based on competitiveness and balance. So everything is interesting in a sense that it creates a lot of interesting challenges to the players, whether it be during the deployment, where you're deploying your unit, where are you going to fight them, and even up to the fundamentals of what list do you end up bringing. So we're trying to challenge that in a notion to a lot of the things that we're doing, and to some players who wants to not use. So this is going to be part of the new scenario packs. These 4 new scenarios that we have, but to the old scenarios, we're adding one very small bit of quality of life changes, which is we're changing the objective marker from 5 wounds to 3 wounds. So it's going to be similar to the last Argument of Kings, and it's going to make the scenarios a little bit more smooth in that regards. All right, cool. Scenarios. We're gonna go. We're finished with scenarios, and now.
Can I also mention here that it's not just the amount of wounds on the objective markers, but I would say, what do you have to say for the recommended point values that we're going to be seeing in tournaments?
Ooh. Nice. All right. So I know that a lot of First Blood players have been sort of asking whether they can play in a bit more of a bigger amount of points. So right now, for all the competitive scenarios, or at least the scenarios that we're showcasing here, the recommended play point is now up to 1,000 points. So back from 800 points to now to 1,000 points.
Same as for the entirety of the package and for the world events that you're going to be running. So we're going to be seeing 1,000-point army list from now on.
Yep. So 1,000 points army list to everyone. So yeah, this will create a more interesting list, and will create a more diverse list, and we can bring much more models, which is a very win-win for all of us. Anything else, Leo, that you want to add to this before we quickly go through some of the factions?
Oh yeah, I think it was a good experience getting a lot of time to put down for First Blood. Right now, this is, like we said, this is one of many updates. So you're going to be seeing the direction that First Blood is going to be going. And what is truly important, and I'm really hoping you're seeing this, is that something we said we wanted to do in the past, is something that you've asked about, is that First Blood is its own developed system, is a system that is being developed to become a competitive game on its own. And for that reason, we are going to be exploring systems and things for First Blood that are unique to First Blood. And it's not just simply let's say, an adaptation or a port from its sibling game. So we are looking at First Blood in its full glory, with its own systems and with its own, let's say, philosophy behind it.
Thank you, Leo.
And just note from the chat questions that are coming up, which are including, can we expect a First Blood support pack with these missions? Like, will we need cards? Should we put together a set of cards for all of these specific to First Blood?
Yep. So I think the idea of this scenario pack that we have is that so tournament organizers can sort of just pick which of these 16 missions that they wanted to do. Of course, depending on each of the different sort of expectation and competition, you can pick between 1 to 6 to in all of this. So we're not necessarily going. I correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is just going to be part of the sort of the scenarios that we have, and then players can have a choice of which one they want to pick, or rather, the tournament organizer.
Okay. Can we? So coming Monday, for everyone who missed the beginning of the happy hour, all of the things that we're talking about are going to go live. So yes, new beasts. Yes, new points. All of the scenarios that Evan is presenting will all be live in the app on Monday and online on Monday as part of your free rule set. So I do want to highlight that. Did I miss any other questions here? I know many of you have been playing with 1,000 points, and that's great. We've made it more official. Thomas, are you on a bus? I was actually going to say something. I think he's on a train, if I had to guess. If I'm guessing I was going to comment, Thomas Purcell has the sunglasses on every happy hour, but this is the first time I've seen him actually moving. So am I right? It's a train? You're muted.
Okay, we need to pause this and geolocate Thomas.
I know, really.
We have to figure this out.
I don't know if he can hear us or not.
So I'd like to answer a few questions.
Please.
Sat Crayon, great name, great username. Asks, does the Wave 5 support pack contain the updated rules for TLAK from the last major update? I think Dwigum and the Caraway lost a spell or two and gained some new ones.
I'm on a
So I'm not
train.
sure. So,
He's on a train.
Oh, she's on a train. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Did you get my question?
Yeah. So I just want to ask the Sat Crayon. So there has been changes to spells, but the Caraway has not lost a spell. But yeah, every time we see let's say new support packs, they have the most updated cards. The good thing with spells is that you get this amazing artwork and a QR, and so when a spell is updated, the card is not lost because you can still scan it and get the latest updates on the game. Jordan asked about the Mahout in the room. Will there be rules for the Fallen Divinity? Yes, there will. And Carlos is asking whether this update is with the update. So it's not in this update, although Mahout will see certain things, but Fallen Divinity, Mahout, and Tontor, they are now ripe to be included in First Blood, as this larger point values and with the changes that we're doing right now will allow us to bring them into the game very seamlessly.
Aaron, you have a question. Aaron? Oh, there you are.
Yes, sir. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, so my question
Oh, I said perfectly too
is the
fast.
design philosophy.
Now you're breaking up, Aaron. I'm sorry. Can you start over?
Okay. Yes, sir. What is the design philosophy behind going more tournament side instead of going more narratives?
Oh, and then you broke up. What is the design philosophy? And then we lost you again.
I could hear him. He was saying, what's the design
sorry,
philosophy
I'm
towards
driving.
going tournament organized rather than like narrative organized?
Yeah, that's my question.
What is the? Can you
repeat it,
repeat
Joey?
the question? I'm sorry. If it's too hard, I'll pretend it's breaking
So
up.
the
again.
so the update he was saying is more tournament and competitive focused rather than narrative focused. What is the philosophy behind that?
Okay. So the update is here to cover, let's say, a lot of systemic bases when it comes to First Blood. It is I think the most accurate term to put it is a First Blood holistically update. What's important here is to address important parts of the game, important, let's say, challenges that First Blood was facing. And it's a stepping stone that allows us to then further delve deeper either to the narrative or to the competitive. But at this point, I would say, in the true sense, it's a First Blood update in its entirety as a system. One of many.
That's absolutely true, Scott. And I think another question is, are the newer minis going to gain rules? One of the things that we've committed to is that at the same time we add miniatures to TLA on the Army Builder, you will see them now for First Blood as well. It will no longer be what we'll call a just in time or an you know what moment where we try to get everything done at the last second. So we're working to get further ahead. Thomas, I think you had your hand up next.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll answer my question, which was what would happen and why is it an excellent idea to leave a Mahat unattended in the middle of the city?
Wait, what?
It's a sneaky lore question. It's a jab at the lore masters.
Stab, are you going to take that one?
Basically, because in the absence of its attendant, it just sort of stands there. And it looks pretty.
There you go.
It just stands there, look nice. Thanks for answering.
Jordan, you're next.
Hey, yeah, so I'm really excited about these updates. To that narrative point, for like the First Blood, is it my understanding that will, like, some more narrative type focus things will be kind of the focus of future campaign packs, kind of like how we have the Stone-Faced King and things like that? So I feel like that might be a good place for that. Not try to like put words in anyone's mouth, but that kind of was my impression. Is that kind of correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot more narrative packs coming, and part of that, this is part of a larger focus on narrative play. So as we're building up that narrative play machine, let's say, right, we're going to be looking at things like that more and more.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, you'll see more narrative play sets. We're really thrilled with the response to the 100 Kingdoms Dwegum one that's out now. I think I can tell you what the next one is. Any problems with me telling them what the next one is?
Tell me.
City States? Sorcerer Kings.
Ooh.
So it will go beautifully with your 2-player sets. Once you've built it, then you will have the opportunity to tell great stories. So we're very excited. That will be coming later this year. So, and yes, Scott, the answer to that question is yes. So exciting stuff to show. Maybe I'll do one more show and tell at the moment, Evan, and then you can go back into some details.
Go for it.
All right, there comes the... So this is going to be the Centaurs for Old Dominion, to give you an idea of how they look, and they are coming up soon.
Now, I want to point something out. Those centaurs have more sprues needed to make them than some of our monsters. This is one of those pre-facto great ideas, post-facto regrets, but you guys get to benefit from it.
It's a beautiful set that's... you got to buy a lot of them, let me say it that way. So we're counting on the fact that
please buy a lot of them.
Please buy many, many sets. As Crazy Eddie, for those of you who are old enough to remember Crazy Eddie, which is probably only me, as Crazy as Eddie said, we make it up in volume.
1 million attacks.
You can Google that. You can Google Crazy Eddie and you'll get it. But, you know, you're all too young. Thomas, you have your hand up again.
I was wondering, will there be centaurs ever for the city-states?
Centaurs for the city-states. I don't think we're answering that yet.
Like, I can know if that answers.
Notice how quickly Daryl answered that instead of me.
Can't give away all the secrets out of the gate.
They all got old and died. Yeah, that's it.
Evan, bail me. Bail me out, Evan. Go, quick, Evan. First blood rule. Go.
No, there's a question.
Oh,
I think from
Brad asked the question. Sorry, Brad.
Shadow X2. Will First Blood be at the LVO? Huh. Leo, would you like to answer that question? Because I think the focus of right now, I think what a lot of maybe a few people missed from the start is that we are bringing First Blood into more competitive ground with all these constant updates and constant looks and rebalances to a few of the existing units and even to the newer units that's coming out. So we are ready to bring First Blood into a more competitive level in the sense that we are ready to bring it into the tournament and get people to actually play it and think of a strategy. We don't want First Blood to be just that half sibling from Last Argument. We want it to be on its own, and that's why we're putting a lot of focus on First Blood and to make it its own game.
And so it'll be at LVO if you all sign up and play.
LVO, yes.
If you sign up and play. And buy tickets early. Don't make me sweat.
All right.
Brad, go ahead, Brad. Brad didn't get past
all
the
good.
sweat.
Sorry, there's a question.
So the next format is City States and Sorcerer Kings. Will that be the next SDL terrain?
Can you get a little closer to the mic, Brad? I couldn't hear that. Sorry.
Right. With the lore pack being Sorcerer Kings and City States, will that be the next STL terrain as well?
Yes.
Okay, and just a point with that, the lore packs took so long to get into my FLGS that the STLs were available long before the pack was for the coupons. I love the company so much I bought them anyways, and I can have the $10 by all means. But for other consumers or other people that are doing it or having that as part of that lore pack, I thought the timing was a little off for distribution. Is there another way that maybe we'll do that in the future, or is that going to be the continued practice going forward?
Well, I will say that the first one we wanted to make very special. It's conceivable that there will not be a discount coupon in the future to worry about.
No problem. I guess I can buy it. Like I told you the first time, if you put up the STLs, I buy them.
Yeah.
The training was fantastic. I thought it was worth it regardless. And why I did it, I just thought that feedback would be good.
We'll take a look and see, what it looks like. I mean, we're really spending quite a bit of resources into this terrain, and I think you're gonna. We've heard really positive things. Obviously, we learn as well from the first time we do something to the second time we do things. So I think you will see the skills that we employ get better and better every time. I know some people have struggled with the STLs, and others have been like, no problem, it works beautifully. We're going to try to make it so that everyone can find it simple.
All right. So
you're up, Evan.
I will jump ahead. So we've talked about some of the base rule update for First Blood. We've talked about the sort of the new game modes that we're going to be finding in First Blood. So now I guess naturally we go through the factions and see what changes through some of the factions. So to sort of, I would say as a general sweeping statement, there will be nothing too major happening to each of the faction, but what we are trying to aim to do is just to sort of bring down some of the more overperformers that we have and to sort of bring up the less performers that we have. So sort of to make everything into a sort of a more balanced perspective. We're also adding a few new abilities to existing models just to give them a purpose on the battlefield. Now, let's talk about 100 Kingdom and sort of the big bad character that 100 Kingdom has. So the Priority Commander, in I guess the now previous incarnation of First Blood, has a lot of abilities that makes them do basically everything in a game, from tanking, from killing things, and so we're not going to sort of remove all of its abilities because we want to have one model where it's a very powerful model where you can do, and it's a very signature model in the 100 Kingdom as well. But instead, we are sort of trying to fix it in a sense that we don't want a certain combination of things to happen. So what is important, and in this one, is that they cannot take arcane heirlooms. which means that they can no longer have access to that one particular heirloom that gives them extra attack and smite. So hoping that if we remove sort of this combination, so that essentially we don't have this one super unit trying to kill everything. It's just everything is going to be a bit more at a more balanced level, let's just say. So that's one of the sort of the big update for 100 Kingdoms. The rest, we don't have to go through everything, and I don't think there's anything major other than the Priory Commander. So let's
I want to
move
say,
on.
make sure to check that changelog, people. Just like TLAK, First Blood get all of these 3 changelogs as well. You can find it on the Bellum rules and FAQ page. You're going to find it along with designer's commentary. So make sure you check that, and you'll be able to very quickly see all the changes of this update, and of course everything highlighted for your convenience on the PDFs as well.
All right, thank you, Leo. So for Duecom, sort of the big thing that we were looking at is in the faction rule itself, which is relentless aggression. So we're seeing basically a play pattern in the Duecom First Blood list where essentially they don't mind losing a single model because it then buffs everyone. And it can make suddenly, for example, one of your guys dies to a crossbow bolt, and then you gain +8 attack because you have 8 models on the regiment. So that is the principle behind relentless aggression is that you want to sort of keep up the amount of attacks that you have even when you're taking casualties. So instead of that ability, we sort of tone it down. Am I not showcasing anything? Oops. Oh, I think I missed it. Oops. Sorry.
You're not showing. That's okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. I thought I was. Hold on. Just give me a moment.
And then I'm going to show a pretty Dwight Home piece when you're done.
Yeah. Give me a moment. Oops. How do I do this again?
The box with the arrow in it.
The box with the
Were we all muted at the same time? I think.
The box in the It's a bit of a technology here. I knew I.
Let's
present
get
now.
great
The box with
screenshots.
the little arrow at the bottom.
There we go. Resume your presentation.
There you
Excellent
go.
button right there. Cool. Sorry. So okay. So a little bit of what we're showing here for relentless aggression. So we are so now when a regiment in this army removes any casualty tokens during the removing casualty token step of a round, the leader or acting leader adds +1 attack to for each casualty token removed. So the principle behind this is to so that the Duegom army can still maintain their momentum even when they're taking casualties, instead of it doubling the amount of attacks that they have when they have a casualty. So within that first round of combat where you're taking a large amount of hits, you can still maintain that level of power that you had even before when they attack, even when you still have a full regiment, but then it sort of drops off at the next one. And I think another sort of quick one for the Dweghom is the Hellbringer Sorcerer. So we're sort of just this rule, Elemental Puissance, has received a lot of questions. So we're just clarifying that essentially the character model is the one that receives the 3 action, and not the actual mount. So that's just a little bit of a rules clarification on its own. And as you notice, we also lowered the amount of barrage that the Hellbringer Sorcerer has, again, because I think so this unit creates a lot of interesting questions of how efficient a unit with multiple profile is. So they have both a range attack and a barrage from the sorcerer itself. So we're sort of just trying to sort of tone it down a little bit and to make sure that it's still within a good amount of level. So I think Dweghom is finished. There's a bit more update in Dweghom, but I don't want to go through a lot of it. So we'll talk about Sorcerer Kings.
Hold on. No. Hold. I'm taking over.
Yes.
We have some new pictures to show for the Dwegs. I've got more. This is what you're really going to want to see, both the Magma Forge and the Flame Berserkers together. So I think everyone is aware, if you're not, you are now anyways, you're about to be aware, that the 5th anniversary remix of the Flame Berserkers will be coming in August with a dual kit of Magma Forge, a new set for people to get very, very fired up about. Well, we're giving the Flames a completely new look and style.
I love the pun. I was about to say like Brad, like I love the pun, Daryl. Well done.
And here we go. One more picture. I think maybe that's the one I showed before. Hold on. Now I've lost track of which one I showed and which one I haven't showed. Oh, there we go. Here it comes. So a few more angles. Really excited about these bad boys. I think it's going to make the Dweg armies just a little more stylish. Are any other factions possibly getting remixes or remasters of old models? I don't know. Or maybe I do. Maybe I'll tell you. Maybe I won't. Jordan, you're up.
Yeah, so did Demos paint those as well? Because those flame axes look so cool.
I don't know who painted them, in all seriousness. Do you guys know in Greece?
Just because it's a small country, we don't all know each other, Daryl.
No, I didn't. Well done, Leo. Well done, sir.
I think it was Demo.
Was it Demo? Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it was Demo. I was just checking. Yeah.
Awesome.
It is a small country. You guys do all know each other, I think. Ryan, you're up.
Just wanted to jump back to something you mentioned earlier. So the LVO was mentioned.
Yes.
When is registration for that going to be? Because I didn't see it on the current website for next year's.
Oh, I don't think they work that far ahead.
Okay.
I would be shocked. I shouldn't say that out loud. You should go to the website and check.
We have submitted the events, and they will let us know when they will go live. So when they go live, we'll make the announcement so you know.
Way to go, Yanni. I didn't even know we submitted them yet. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. They usually do early September. Usually. So we'll see.
There you go.
Thank you for answering that.
Seems like it's so far away as we sit here in the middle of summer, but yeah, I guess you're right. It's only 6 months.
Yeah, it's an extra day this year, too.
Yeah. All right, Evan. Take back over.
Yep. So just one quick one before we move quickly to Sorcerer Kings is that, as you can see in the Flame Berserkers, is the new sort of aura of death. So higher amount in general, but as I've explained a little bit earlier in the call, and I guess just to go back again to those people who's joining. So Aura of Death is receiving a rework in how it works. So back then it used to be just on a model-to-model basis. So you would check how many models are engaging your models with Aura of Death, and that creates a lot of complication in checking engagement range, whether anything is engaged, and how many units are currently engaged.
Don't forget to post it, Evan. Don't forget to post.
Oh, geez. I am. Here we go. Click to resume. Oh, yeah. I think you can still see it.
Nope. I took over for you to show the Dwegs.
We're still in Dwegs. Yep.
Oh, yeah, no, but I took over. I took over from you to. So I took control of the screen from you.
Oh. Here we go. Resume presenting.
There
we go. Yeah. So as you can see right here, is sort of the new Aura of Death wording, in a sense that the number is bigger, but it counts for the entire regiment instead of it being on a model-to-model basis. So this is just to sort of to showcase them. And to those of you who seeing on the right, the amount of points. So what we are doing in First Blood is we're also looking at the roles of infantry and how they function in the game. A lot of, I think, what the comments of the previous incarnation of First Blood is that there's a lot of focus on brutes, cavalries, and even monsters, that the infantry is not receiving a lot of love. So what we did instead is we are trying to make infantries a bit more accessible in terms of the point cost. So we are lowering a large amount. We are lowering points for most of the infantries that we have, if not all. So it's a sweeping change that we have, as you can see in the sort of the difference in points in Flame Berserkers, Hold Ballistae, and Hold Warriors, in the hope that people bring a bigger block of infantry to sort of contest, and also or even to bring some missile units so that they can use to fight against the monsters.
I'd like to add here, for most of you seeing, we're talking about small changes, mostly to 5 points on the model or 10 points here and there. We're not intending to drastically change the amount of models with which you're going to be playing your games with, right? You're going to be seeing some of that balancing points coming back. Let's say some brute characters now cost before they would cost nothing. Now you would see 50 or 70 points here and there. So it's more of, it's in a way a reallocation, a redistribution of points to better reflect where the power lies in the system. And also, we have a new structure for the profiles. I just wanted to say that in mostly because it took me forever.
It looks very nice, Leo.
To be much cleaner, but yeah.
So
it's not. Don't worry that this is going to radically change the amount of models you're going to be playing with. No, it's just honestly the change in the points means you're going to be using 1.5 more regiments than before, just a few more infantry models that the kits you would get to start the game with, or kits that you already know would absolutely already would cover. So we're not looking to greatly expand the amount of models needed to play First Blood. We just need to better allocate, to better distribute the costs of points.
So we have, I think, a few questions. Number one is a sort of a rule question from Scott. If I take 2 MSUs, they both touch the same enemy regiment, the regiment will take 8 AOD. The answer is yes. Basically because it's counted as 2 different sources. Jordan is asking, were these First Blood changes taken into consideration for the new First Blood starters? And the answer is
Yes, Jordan. Yes. Absolutely. The starter is there to give you a very good, first of all, to give you a big chunk of your First Blood army. First of all, and second of all, what's important is to give you a very good and seamless first game experience. So it's incredibly important that First Blood starters are there to help you get you to the game. And actually now, essentially, with these changes, we are giving even more opportunities for the player to find all of the different strategies and all of these different builds that they can do. That's why the First Blood starters, along with the Path of Conquest of leaflets you're going to be finding in there, are crucial, and any change that we have done absolutely takes these important kits into consideration.
And I'll also note that they're complementary to the 2023 versions, so that if you want to combine them, you're not duplicating a lot of units. So obviously that's not the Sorcerer King's excluded because there is no 23 version of that one. But you get the idea that if you put 2 together, you're pretty close to 1,000 points, and they'll work together.
All right. Let's move on to the latest factions in First Blood. No, for Conquest in general, which is Sorcerer King. So for Sorcerer King, we add a little bit of buff to the Sardar. So the way that Sardar was written created a few confusion in how it works in terms of the equipment that the Sardar can bring. So so there's a lot of wording that targets character regimen, but because Sardar is an officer and a character regimen, it created a lot of, I guess, just a slight bit of confusion. So we're adding the rules to sort of tweak that so that it's treated as both an officer and that they can target the character regimen where he's at. So just a little bit of rules cleanup on that bit, and just add a little bit of ability for tight formation to give harden +1 to make the.
Interrupt you even, but can you zoom it?
Zoom it, yes, I can.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No problem. All right, so type formation within the character's model command range is a hardened +1. So again, more incentive to bring the Sardar in list. And I think the Sardar is a beautiful model, and we would like to sort of introduce it to First Blood in a very good way. What else is interesting? I think we are removing the feral from the retinue. As you can see, we are no longer having feral. I think this is just a straight up quality of life improvement for both the Freed Sword Dancer bound elementals and the Steelheart Djinn. So they no longer have the feral ability attached to them, which is great. Again, just some small point adjustment to a few of the other regiments. We're adding Vanguard to ghouls so that they can get an extra movement. And lastly, I believe we are changing again just a little bit of the Bakasura and Ravanar in terms of the aura of death. So we're changing how it works and adding a little bit of extra resolve to their stats, because previously it was 3, now we're adding it to 4. Any models that you would like to show, Daryl, or I should keep on going?
I would say keep going. You have a couple questions there, and then I've got one more model to show at the end, which is our showstopper.
All right. So wait, can we see the ghouls again? Yes, we can.
Is someone taking screenshots, I think?
Go for it.
And in case, again, for everyone who's joined at different times, this will all be live on Monday and in the app as well as online. So, it's great. We're thrilled that you want to dig in early. Love it. We wait till Monday, so in case there's any confusion, discussion, and or technological challenges, we're all available to make sure that it's easy to get to fix.
So there's a question.
Sort of a preview.
So there's a question from Ari. I found retinues in general are very high bang for their buck. Are there any balance changes to them? It's one. Let's just say for now that that's one of the things that we're looking at the moment. And as you can see already in Sorcerer King, that sort of sets the precedence of how we want to do retinues going forward. This is not a sort of like don't take this as it's written in stone, but we're experimenting with a few different things, and we'll see which one works. And again, the purpose of retinue is twofold. Number one is sort of to bring your characters into the battlefield and having them their own little signature warband that they bring. And second of all, of course, we want it to be a bit more balanced. And we are aware that retinues in general are very powerful, and we are looking into it. Is all I can say.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that this is what I will call the first in a series of updates. Like TLAOK, our plan is to make sure that we are doing updates and balances evolutionarily, so you don't have to relearn the whole game, but that there's a regular cadence of updates that, not surprisingly, it might go TLAOK, then First Blood, then TLAOK. You can expect another update this fall. Is that right, Leo? Am I hitting you at the right time there?
Yeah, no, I mean, TLAOK, we are timing our update for after the Heroes Final, right? We don't want to mess with people's list of right now at the very final stretch. And if some very small quality of life changes happen right now, it will not be to anything that upsets people's list for Heroes. So any TLAOK changes are now reserved for the new season.
And then I was with Evan this weekend, and I know he's already working on the December. We're planning it as a holiday gift to you, an update right after Christmas. So look for that.
All right, let's move on. All right. So with Spires, the way that we look at is a couple of things. Number one, Spire doesn't really have any sort of faction abilities outside of sort of this purity of purpose, which sort of denotes what kind of units will be affected by certain abilities. I'm just checking whether I'm actually showing something instead of me.
You are.
I'm showing something, right? Good, excellent. A little bit nervous. So purity of purpose, we're adding one last line to the paragraph. I think if people want, I'll zoom in just a little bit because it's a bit wordy. But the point is that we are enabling a playstyle, whereas if you buff a certain unit with these kind of keywords in, that they get to activate if they're within a command range. So the Spire commander now has to sort of fight in sort of like close to where their troops are, because it has to be within command range to benefit from this ability. So we're encouraging, the Biomancers and the Ferromancers to, be with the troops a little bit instead of just be in the back. So it is a powerful ability. Chain activating in a game where it's an I go, you go system is very powerful, but we're adding it the caveat so it's within command range. So that's for the big update for Spire. The rest, I think there's one addition in okay, I think I want to talk about this one just a little bit. So a lot of the character regimens in First Blood is by design free, but because again we're trying to focus the game to have a little bit more nuance in terms of where the brutes and cavalries are sitting. So a lot of the brute characters and the cavalry characters are getting some points baked into them. So the Lineage Highborn, for example, is 50 points instead of it being 0. The Lineage Prideborn, again, from 0 points now up to 50 points. Again, just on that notion that because they're sitting in a brute shell or even a cavalry shell, they have increased movement, they have access to impact. So by rights, their combat capabilities is already above the infantry ones. So we wanted to sort of put them within the same sphere as the infantry ones in the way that they operate within a certain army. And I think the last one that I want to highlight is just to add, I think, superior creation to the incarnates and the
Siegebreaker Behemoth now.
The Siegebreaker Behemoth, yeah.
From the
benefit from superior creation. Yeah. So this will create an interesting wombo combo with the Highborn. So yeah, we would like players to sort of mix and match and experiment, and this is one way that we're doing it, to add this little bit of keywords to each of the models. Okay, I'm gonna quickly check if there's any questions. Spire still double buff, but review is trying again to activate only buff once per round for ability. Most of the Spire's buff will expire at the end of the round. Yep. Okay, good. Let's move on to the last that we are showing in terms of the rules update, and it's for city states. Now, before we go into city states, again, the principle behind sort of the city states in First Blood is that there's currently a lot of overlapping rules with another one. We have rerolls upon rerolls. We have flurries and rerolls. So we wanted to sort of streamline it just a little bit, and you'll see it in the way that we sort of redid Phalanx Tactics. So Phalanx Tactics still maintains that reroll that we have, but not to another unit with the Phalangites and with the Phalanx ability. So now you just engage with the models with this special rule. So the Phalanx Tactic works with both Phalangites and Agema in this regards. And also we're adding an additional benefit. So enemy models charging this regimen does not gain the benefit of the Inspire special rule. So this would make the Phalangites have a bit more role in First Blood and how they can sort of withhold the charges from an enemy unit. Again, some point cost reduction to majority of the infantry, adding flank to Satiri, so to make them a little bit having more roles in the battlefield. And the other big one for city state is points reduction in the both giants. So we're adding basically a lower point cost to both the Festian and the Promethean, and also making them a little bit more tougher at 18 wounds. So again, I think what we're seeing is, and also I guess this is a good segue to talk about monsters in First Blood, is that we're seeing monsters being taken more and more, which is excellent. But at the same time, it creates an interesting challenge to sort of make the monsters at a more sort of equal ranks to one another. And as we put sort of all the monsters within the same equation and putting a lot of their faction abilities on top of it, we're looking at some monsters sort of lagging behind. And this is one way for us to sort of bring them to a bit more of a level where we want them to be. And essentially how we did that is to make them a little bit more survivable and also to sort of reduce a bit of their cost. And this is, you will see on Monday, a few of the monsters are getting mostly that level of treatment, especially the Jotnars from Nords. We're also trying to sort of bring down the Apex Predator just a little bit to make it a bit more manageable. But in general, this is what we're doing for First Blood in terms of the rules updates. Maybe I'll pass it to Leo for a bit if he wants to add anything on top of whatever I'm saying.
Yeah, so a lot of changes. Obviously, we're not going through everything right now, but it's important just to see how many point rebalances are there. What is this new, let's say, reallocation of cost and redistribution of cost to be closer to the power that all of these game entities bring? Are you going to be finding changes for all factions? Are you going to be changes for in many special rules like Aura of Death? All of these, of course, is going to be available on the app and on the PDFs online on Monday. And we are really excited and looking forward towards a new era for First Blood, one with many updates. Of course, we mentioned when some of the bigger updates will be dropping. Of course, we're going to be seeing frequent updates in the terms of when new things show up. We're going to be seeing them in rules, small quality of life fixes, and of course, that regular and living rule set that you know and love and you're used to from our end. I would say that it was a pleasure to lead, let's say, and work with this new way of approaching First Blood. I'm very excited to see what First Blood has and how it handles world community events and the world program in general. And we're just very excited about how your reception. So one question now remains.
You want to give them some Wadroon tidbits before I keep Scott waiting longer?
Evan, do you want to give some? Actually, we're going to talk for Wadroon, Nords, and Old Dominion. We can talk more over. We can throw little tidbits on the Discord if you guys are part of over the weekend and talk a little bit more, just to keep things interesting a little bit through the weekend as well.
But I'll give a bit of drip.
Oh yes,
so for Nord, we are not exactly full reworking on how Reckless Attack works, but we're just making sure that it works in a less painful way for brutes and monsters. So I think in the previous incarnation is you remove models to basically gain the benefit. Again, it's not a good idea to put it on a brute because you're essentially removing a single model. But we're sort of reworking how it works. So now they have access to that rule and they can use it to their advantage. For Wadroon, I think the sort of the things that I wanted to say is the Thunder Riders are getting a slight rebalance in a sense that their trample ability is now doing slightly less. And the other sort of big thing is how Apex Predator works. Apex Predator is a very scary model in First Blood because of its ability to control an objective just by existing. So we're looking for a way to sort of at least mitigate that ability. So that would be the drop. And for Old Dominion, the only thing that I can say right now is that we are aware of how they are more tanky than the other faction because of how the no resolve works. So we are trying to sort of at least lower down a little bit on the efficiency of their cavalries and to basically introduce a few things that will possibly rebalance it works. It's not going to be a major change just yet, but this is part of our ongoing sort of discussion with Old Dominion.
I think the question is, does the Fallen Divinity keep its tier identity or be at a set point?
Leo, go ahead.
So tier is very difficult to manifest in First Blood, and also what is incredibly important for us is that as we say that every game is separate and different and equal in that matter, we try to focus on different aspects of every entity into both of these different games. So for example, in the TLK, you have the Wadroons and all about their chants, you know, how they operate on a grander level on an army scale. And then when you go into First Blood, which is inherently more personal, more down to earth, let's say you explore the physical traits of the individual Wadroon when it comes to their size, their strength, all that. And similarly, we're going to have to be doing the same thing with the Fallen Divinity. When it fights alongside and leads this huge army in Helia K, there are all of these shoals to gather and harvest and become stronger. When we're talking about in First Blood, we're going to have to bring, let's say, a different aspect of First Blood, or see the First Blood, the Fallen Divinity in a different state to better make sense within the context of First Blood.
Thank you, Leo. I'm typing to Liam, but I think I'll just say to everyone, because I think everyone's going to want to know this. The First Blood warbands have a quick start guide in them, not the full rule book, as we move more and more to digital, because all of those rule books, you know, obviously get updated along the way. So that's, you know, that will be what you'll see in the 2024 warbands. 23 warbands have the 2.0 First Blood books, but obviously, as you are now aware, those are becoming a little outdated.
So maybe one last question I want to ask her by Miniatures. Any train rules updates in First Blood? So to answer this question, I think terrain plays a huge factor in First Blood. And the way that we are thinking of the current aspect of First Blood is that we're not going to introduce a sweeping change to the terrain, but instead we are giving some recommended terrains selection that you can bring to your First Blood table. So for example, we recommend, like, for example, a terrain like a bog, which consists of several different keywords so that people can have a little bit of more uniformity when they're designing their First Blood table. So the reason for this is twofold. Number one is to sort of introduce a little bit of the terrain, again, uniformity, because it's important in a competitive game to have basically equal table for everyone. And then number two is that people can sort of agree on the terrains that they can pick when the game is about to start, and they no longer have to sort of argue like, oh, is this forest going to be such and such, or is this piece of terrain is going to be such and such. Again, we are not limiting it to that scope. We're just merely introducing like a set of selection that you can take if you don't want to think too much. But you feel free to sort of combine still with the rule set that we have for First Blood to design your own terrain, and most importantly to design your own table. Like, you want a table to tell a story, we are giving you the tools to design that story. But if you don't want to think too much, we're also giving you a little bit of a set of terrain pre-builds that you can do.
Oh, Thomas Purcell from the train going for the tough question, and he's not even on screen anymore. Man, I'm not answering that. Nobody else is either. You're going to have to wait. It's going to be fun. We got lots of things. We got all the things. But I do have some things to show that you haven't seen. So I love that you've asked these questions. So let me show you something new. And then we'll go back to any other questions. I will also note, I think it's important to note, that rules at para-bellum.com will be a really good friend for you this upcoming week. Because everything that you're wondering about that you can't quite, let's just be honest, you don't read it carefully enough and you're too lazy to figure it out by reading it a third and fourth time. Rules at para-bellum.com. Leo's going to smack me for this, but Leo and Evan will be working hard to answer your questions, and we'll work really hard to not say it's on page 12. Read it. But for those of you who can read page 12, please do. Make their job easier. But if you're not sure and you're really having questions, that is the goal of it, right? I mean, I'm being somewhat facetious about it, but in all seriousness, we want you to be able to get access to definitive rule updates. And so rules at para-bellum.com. Don't worry, I got more pictures. is a really good resource. I don't know if Leo, you want to add anything more to that?
Yeah, I actually, not only is it a great resource, it also helps us a lot know what questions you guys have. We don't get the opportunity to see you as often as we would like in person during the shows. So when you're asking questions, it becomes a very good point for us that, yeah, we have to clarify this or that. So your questions are incredibly important, and they play a big role on the on the development of the game. So these questions are incredibly important for us. So if you have them, please feel free to ask. You're not a burden.
So the Stoneforged, I knew you knew it was coming, but I don't think you knew it would be so damn cool. What do you think? Are the Stoneforged figures posable? I don't know the answer to that. Do you? Anybody on the screen know if you can make the fingers?
It is quite. There's quite a bit of ball jointing there. I can say from seeing the model up close.
So I can have him with a mass hole salute. Is anybody else here from Massachusetts on the call? Anything is possible with a hobby knife. That is true. Brian, you have a question, sir.
Just the weighted name mark from originally from Massachusetts.
Oh, you have to get closer, Ryan. I can't hear you.
It was just a dumb thing to say. I'm also from Massachusetts. That's all.
Nice. So you know what the mass hole salute is.
Yep.
I think everyone knows what it is, but nonetheless. So the Stoneforge comes in August with the Dwegs, but don't worry, I'm not done yet. Scott, I know you're sitting there going, I've already seen that. It's not exciting. I already know it. You haven't seen it painted. It's kind of cool. And it is going to be giving a lot of rude gestures. This is something you didn't know. This is Steel Shaper. Without, as I think Reese put it, clown shoes. So this is one of, and that's why I said I'm not sharing all of the remixes, but I did. See, I'm not such a bad guy. I just made you wait another 15 minutes. But I'm not done yet. So everybody who waited, the 66 of you who waited, get to see something extra special. So, there always will be, for those who wait to the end, when they think they've heard everything and seen everything,
official lore.
I'll keep a little surprise. Stavro, I think, had to go. So, Leo, you could definitely have some fun with that.
Can I enjoy the cult of Leo?
So, this is going to be a surprise.
Lore time with Leo. Yay.
Anybody want to take a guess what this is?
What the fuck
Yay.
is that?
Come on, get larger. There we go. That's what she said.
Stavros had to leave.
So this is Testing the Waters, our 5th anniversary Founders exclusive, coming this fall to be fun. And he can play in the game. And Leo, tell them how.
It's the 100 Kingdoms monster. I'm just joking. I'm just
No.
I'm just teasing everybody.
No.
That's awesome.
So,
where's Thomas Purcell when we need him? Is he still on there? Oh, good. He is.
We'll make it happen.
Don't
listen to Costantino. I control what goes out there in rules. I say it happens. No, just kidding. Okay, so like you've seen with fish gnomes, the anchor chicken and whatnot, so far you've seen you being able to use them as stand-ins for leaders and so on. But the great thing with testing the water is that it comes at the size of the brute base. And what that means when it's at the brute stand, it means that it can stand in as your warlord. So during tournaments and during official events, your warlord, whatever warlord that is, regardless of the faction, could be represented with this fish gnome, and everybody will know that you have chosen to be that person who wanted to make the testing the water as your warlord placeholder. That is, any infantry or brute or cavalry warlord can be represented with the testing the waters.
Oh, David, you have a question. Sorry.
When do we get the fish gnome holding a Pita Souvlaki?
Can you speak a little?
When do we have the fish gnome holding a gyros? Like real Greek style.
Yeah, nope. This is the first. You may see, and we've generally done the fish gnome as a holiday treat, as a fun thing. So you may see another fish gnome.
Oh, I've got Mr. Santa. He's amazing.
Yeah, well, there's other holidays. Just teasing a little bit. You might see coming up. Jordan, you have a question, sir?
Yeah. Do you know if there might be any little files that we could add like a laser on the shark so that we could have sharks with freaking lasers on their freaking heads?
I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's gonna have lasers, isn't it?
It is in the
I mean,
eyes
not
of the
actual
shark.
lasers, to be
The
very clear.
the eye on the shark is indeed a laser.
Yeah.
But I think the question still remains: can it have more lasers? That is a question to be explored.
It will be as a founders, a serially numbered piece, and we have not finalized the total quantity yet. We're working on that. That'll be decided after this call. But you all are excited about it. We're thrilled. We're just making plans. Joey, you have a question.
I just have a comment because visiting different conventions, there's a lot of new players in Conquest, and not all of them know the history of the murder fish gnome.
That's
so
true.
I think this is just lovely. This is a 5th anniversary Founders Edition. Thank you, everyone, for forcing this to be a thing. Stavro fought it for years, and this is community driven. The murder fish gnomes exist because of the community. So just thank you, everyone, for letting this actually be a thing. Thank you.
I do love this idea as a T-shirt too. That is a very cool T-shirt, and I do hope somebody will manage to put an angry chicken in its mouth along the way. Jaws, because why not? Or again, I forget. Forgive me for not remembering. I think it's Ryan who's from Mass as well. Maybe we take it down to the Cape with a little Jaws atmosphere. I agree with you, Tessa. We will definitely do this to annoy. So this is coming up in, I think, late September, early October, as a fun holiday treat.
Non-canon.
Non-canon? What does that mean?
Absolutely canon, and I will tell you all about it. It is
canon is the official
part
story
of the world. I would say one of the crucial. It's a story. It's just an epic tale of you have no idea. Drama, romance, just intrigue, mostly politics.
Romance.
Mostly politics and a lot of diplomacy. But I will tell you, it's one of the most crucial characters in the world of Conquest, and you are going to figure all about it in my new book, Fully Canon.
Well, I have to say, Will, you're absolutely right. I missed the best line of all, and I'm changing it officially. It is now a Flounders exclusive. 1,000%. It has to be a Flounders exclusive. So, Liam, you're up.
Just while we're on the topic of Conquest memes, without any spoilers, the new episode of The Boys that came out today had a great Conquest Easter egg in it.
Really? You can spoil it.
No, we don't spoil it. I gotta watch it.
When you see
all right,
it, you'll
after
know.
you can tell me later.
No spoilers, please.
No spoilers. All right. Any other questions for this crazy team before we bid you adieu for this summer holiday? Jordan, yes. And then Rostislav.
Right, but you know what the question's going to be, and it is every single time. Weaver Courts when? Cosplay?
I know nothing.
That's a lie, and we both know it.
Fair. I did it with a straight face, though. Did you notice that? I think I was pretty proud
I
of
did.
that.
You're getting better.
Yeah. Rostislav, I'm not answering that, so that's okay.
I always wanted to answer this. No comment.
Okay, I would like to ask about that specific book. What are you talking about? That book with the names and legacies.
Oh, for the Agam system.
Yeah.
Yes. What would you like to ask? When is it coming?
Where is the book? Yeah.
I believe, and Leo, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to launch that at Hios.
Okay.
Which is the end of September.
And about the Leo's book?
Never.
This is part of a larger series.
Leo's book. Oh, Leo's
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
It's three novels and a movie.
It's
there will have to be murder charges before we get to that.
Once I start getting to the end of the Feather and Fang for the Angry Chicken one, I had to start doing some Netflix adaptations. So there are going to be some type taken there. But yeah, it's going to be under a trilogy of the tinfoil series, mostly because of the shape I folded wearing it, mostly. And that's going to be my take. It's a collection of conspiracy theories for the world of Conquest.
Is the final one that the fish gnomes are actually the Weaver Court all along?
You have no idea how far the rabbit hole goes, my friend. You have no idea how deep. You're just scratching the surface there. You have no idea how far this goes.
Fantastic.
There is a deep state in Parabellum, so be aware.
Okay, thank you very much.
Carlos, you have a question.
Yeah, I have a question about any change in the First Blood related to First Blood. And can you give us some hint about if you rework challenge? Or if challenge it will be reworked?
I can answer that. So I think the way that we look at challenge in First Blood is, again, a way for the two sort of warlords to face against each other. Right now, there is no update yet to challenge, but I think this is one aspect that we will be looking for, at least for the next update.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll answer Rob's question, then go to Gwendol. Yeah, Dwegs are getting some reworks. Spire's got them. What original 4 factions are left? Might they get some in upcoming releases and upcoming happy hours, say August 8th? I know where you'll be tuning into, Rob, and I can assure you the Nords have some love coming their way. Info on the RPG, yep, it's still in the process. We're probably not, we've decided that we're going to hold it off until 2025 to have all 3 books available at the same time. But other than that, it's still moving along beautifully. Gwendol.
Yeah, hello everyone. Do you mind if I have multiple questions?
Oh dear. Well, let's see. You take a number at the deli.
I have the French community's questions, so.
Oh, please.
So first, the City States player are asking, where are the miniatures? Where are the Sacred Band? Where is the clockwork?
Well, I would say to them, when is the happy hour next, gang?
August 8th.
There you go.
Well,
you might want to have them tune in.
Okay. Next would be, can we expect the Sorcerer King next previews to be at the same date, I guess?
Well, we just did the Sorcerer Kings. The Sorcerer Kings are getting quite a bit in this month and next. So I have to admit I don't have the schedule in front of me exactly, but the Sorcerer Kings are getting caught up pretty quickly. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 more things this year.
Yes.
Don't rush it. My wife can only handle so much.
And speaking about Sorcerer Kings, what should people expect? More elementals, more humans?
Oh, and I'm not being coy. I don't know without looking at the list off the top of my head. We've talked about so many things. I'm reluctant to answer because there are a number of things still in the pipeline for Sorcerer Kings. And honestly, you guys think I'm being coy, but I saw the Flounders exclusive last night. I hadn't seen it yet either. So I don't often see what things look like. If somebody asked me before what it looks like, and I'm like, I don't know yet. Me too. I'm curious.
Fair enough. And final question, just not to hog the mic too long.
You can join back in. You're welcome.
Is there any plan in further years to rework other older miniatures, much like the Abomination or the Flame Berserkers were?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
We're trying to find that balance because obviously we know that people are, as even noted in that comment, there are unreleased, and I think you've all seen that we've been much closer to on the army builders being released, not loading up the lists too far in advance, because it does take time. And if we have a delay because we don't love the sculpt or any other reason, supply chain or otherwise, we don't want to be teasing out things as far in advance as we did. But we keep trying to find that balance of maintaining a healthy tease. And I know I have fun with it, but I do know it's super important that you have some visibility of what's coming to be excited about it. And yet at the flip side, if it seems like it never comes, it can become rather deflating. So we're trying to find that balance between how far in advance we announce units and how much we keep it close to the vest so that we don't tease anyone before it's time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much.
I'll answer a couple more from the chat, and then I'll go back to the hand raises. Wadrun releases again August 8th, new catalog for the holiday season. If you didn't see your faction this time around, tune in. You might want to, just saying. Deep State, love that. So go ahead, Samuel, while I go through some more questions. Samuel? Maybe he didn't mean to raise his hand. Liam, you're up next.
So you said in the next season for the Road to Chios, First Blood will be in it. Does that mean there's going to be a Last Argument championship and a First Blood championship that both happen in Chios at the same time?
That is, well, I will say that we haven't finalized all those details yet. That's one of the things we are working on ahead of time. But it is fair to say there will be a world champion for each game system, yes. Whether or not it's at the same time remains to be seen.
But there's going to be like 2 different leaderboards.
That's right.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah. No, First Blood will, if you play First Blood and that's your primary game, you're not going to feel any different than TLAOK. Cody.
Yeah, I was just wondering, a lot of the factions, when you look at the army list builder, there's only like 1 or 2 unreleased models left. What happens after that? Once those are filled, is it done for that faction, or what's happening with that?
That is a great question. No, it is not done, to be very clear. We're trying again strike that balance between going too far out and giving enough tease, and also of course introducing new factions, which as we introduce new factions obviously means we can't produce quite as many minis of the current ones. So as they get built out, they will come less frequently, but they will still come. We have plans for some things in each of the factions that are not on the army list at all, and they're not like super far away plans. So just because you don't see something on the army list but you've read it in the storyline, for example, it doesn't mean we're not thinking about it. We just haven't built a timeline where we're ready to announce it yet.
Okay, thank you.
But it's a great question. And of course Leo's going to be feverishly writing things, so add to it at any time. Constantinos is going to kill me for that. David, you're up next.
Just following up on that, obviously new factions and new models is amazing and really, really cool. And obviously currently everything seems to be very well available. Is there a concern that eventually, obviously, as you add more ranges, you see other smaller miniature companies sort of struggle with that, making sure everything's in stock and making sure people can buy the core products that they need to build their armies? Is that something that is like anything that you're worried about yet, or is that like a far distant out thing for you guys? Like, I mean, I know I order from you guys direct because it's fucking amazing. There is like people that get discount codes. Like it ships to Luxembourg for free, which is amazing because everyone else ships it costs. It's like brilliant. Like for me, it's amazing, and hence I started my 4th collection for some reason.
Maria is in tears right now hearing this. I know her well enough to know that she is weeping quietly.
No, seriously, it's amazing. Like it's genuinely amazing. We have like a small group of guys here, and it's like, oh, I'll just order some stuff, and if anyone wants to build anything on, hey, look, we've reached free shipping. Great, okay, boom, done. It's here in 3 days. Nothing to worry about. Why would I order anywhere else? But yeah, that was my question. Thank you.
To answer your question about maintaining stock. I think it's reasonable to assume that as we grow and the line list continues to grow, that we are most likely going to what I will call is do production windows. So I'll take some of the older items and say that we're going to make them one time each year, and they're available while the supply is available. So we'll make it very clear to everybody that this is the restock period for, I'm going to make something up. It's not a problem right now, but let's say the Warbread. The Warbread we're going to make in March, and we're going to make one batch, and then they're available in March while the Warbread are available. Because it isn't going to be practical for retailers or our warehouse or ourselves to maintain. Right now we're at around 300-ish SKUs with the 8 factions. It's not going to be practical to maintain all of those SKUs all of the time. And while we do a very good job of it, right now we've got 4 or 5 that are not currently available. Thanks to you all, because you outsold my forecast, and I am grateful as hell for that. Outsell my forecast all the time, and we'll have to work faster and harder. So I think that's a reasonable assumption that there will be periods. But I will also say things like our core products, our one-player starters, our war bands, the monsters that people just love but don't necessarily, they save up for them and they need to be available for when they've saved up, we'll keep available.
Cool.
To the best of our ability.
Awesome. Thank you for the very comprehensive answer. Thank you.
Sure. Aaron. Oh, Aaron didn't mean to raise his hand. Is that Sebastian?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to raise my hand.
His hand.
So my question is, it's 2 things. My question is, do you guys have any plans logistically to set up something here in the United States as far as a warehouse or distributor setups that are more expansive to allow more of the LGSs to order more easily? And then the second one was, as far as future faction open-ups, may I humbly submit Oni Japan?
So I will answer the first question. We always are looking for additional distribution. We recognize that in the last couple of months, FedEx has not been as ideal as they were when we started. The only way we'll truly be able to maintain the inventory that David was talking about is to have it in one place. The minute we start splitting up the inventory, what you're going to hear is we have Apex Predator in Greece, but not in US. And we have Men at Arms in US, but not in Greece. And that's going to drive everybody batshit crazy. And so I never say never. I'm not, I would say our distribution partners in the US continue to grow and improve. It doesn't offend me at all. It doesn't offend me at all, Kyle, to say give up on FedEx. It's a conversation that we have discussed many times. And, let me just be very transparent. When we started with FedEx, the rate was great. It allowed us to keep free shipping at a very, very, I think you can all agree, you work with other gaming companies if you're a retailer. And if you're not a retailer, you probably buy from multiple gaming companies. And that is, a big challenge for any gaming company is the amount of shipping costs, even from the US. And to be perfectly honest, if I ship something from Boston, where I am, over to Joey in California, it costs me more than double what it costs the Athens office to send a package to Joey. More than double, and the package from Athens will go by air. Now, I acknowledge the last 6 weeks been a little rough. So there's no question FedEx has had some distribution center challenges, and they go through waves like that. And it's not holiday, so I don't understand it, and I'm not defending it. I'm just saying it is part of the pie. The other thing you need to be aware of is, American rent right now is pretty high. So you start adding in the costs of American rent and all of a sudden it's going to be significantly higher minimum order and a lower discount. Right now, value, and I mean it's not necessarily the best, it's the best value for what it costs. Now at some point, cost and value collapse, right? You can have that old joke, you can have three things: fast, cheap, and quality.
Yeah, you only have two of those things.
And right now we have two of those things, or maybe one of those things, depending on the day. But we are looking at other carriers to see if we can get, you all know who that might be. So we are working on all sorts of options, and we're working with FedEx very closely. To their credit, they've never, for lack of a better term, walked away from owning the responsibility. Look, any of you who have businesses know that, particularly in some countries more than others, labor is hard. And people who are committed to their job, particularly when they have one job, can be hard. So it's not simple. But I don't know that having an American warehouse or an Australian warehouse, that's why we have distributors. Asmodee and Golden in the US, we are certainly open to and have discussed with other choices, and certainly welcome. You can reach me anytime. My email is daryl.mckay@para-bellum.com for any wholesale questions, or if it's easier, go to sales@para-bellum.com. That's probably easier for everyone. And I'm happy to have those conversations offline. But yeah, I agree, Scott. FedEx has been odd lately. Some things work beautifully still, and other things not so good. I think Sebastian was next. Hello? Did I lose you all?
No, we're still here. Sebastian, you're next, I think so.
Sebastian might not. Driz? I thought that was Sebastian, but maybe I'm wrong. Oh, they took their hands down. But no, we put it back up.
Hey. Hey, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, perfect. So just a question for Leo. So could you a bit tease for the changes that we're looking at for TLA?
Oh, no. I'll answer that one. Nope, not yet. No, not jumping ahead of TLA. This is First Blood today. We'll do a special meeting for TLA changes because they're important too. They deserve their own call.
Before August or at August?
I think that'll be too soon. We'll do one in September as well.
Okay.
We tend to go a little slower in the summertime because everybody's busy and it's gorgeous out, and then we'll bring them back for the fall on a pretty monthly basis. Dogs.
Second question. Sorry.
Oh, do you have another question? Sorry.
Yeah. I've got another one for Konstantinos regarding the books. So it was mentioned in a happy hour earlier that there will be lore books that you're working on it, and just wanted to ask what's the status.
I don't think we're working on a lore book, Konstantinos. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, we will admit that right now the focus has been shifted towards the RPG, which will be very lore heavy as a source for your lore. Until that is, not complete, at least the first batch of books is on its way. We have put the pause button on other lore projects. But believe me, the Chronicler's Guide is going to be so full of lore that whether you like RPGs or not, it's going to be tempting.
Okay, may I ask another question regarding lore?
Of course.
Okay, so...
Of course, anything.
Anything. Leo will answer.
Anything. Not anything, as it seems, because my last question didn't get an answer. Just a question regarding the website. So, maybe it's just my point of view, but what I noticed that the lore on the website, or the cadence for it, went a bit down lately. So for the units, for the different hotspots, for example, there was more lore for the beginning units or the beginning factions than for the current one or the latest ones. Is it going to change, or are you focusing on different topics there, or like going to living world?
Here's the thing, that the living world, the bi-weekly living world, is obviously taking a good chunk of the writing time. But we do continue our spotlights. Like every other week between the living world, we do have a spotlight. Now, sometimes we might go back because there is a lot of stuff that people that are new to the community have not read, might have missed. And it's good to now and then throw the light again on some more obscure corners. Tomorrow we're going to have a new one, for instance. A very classic in its format spotlight. As in, it will focus on a specific area and discuss its story, reveal some aspects of its life, etc., etc. So I understand what you're saying, especially about the what we call tier 3s, which is the regiment or unit specific lore. We shifted formats because it was a little too standalone to see some things. Let me put it this way: some things deserve to take a fuller picture. If you remember, for instance, we had a very interesting spotlight about those legions that no longer exist and their fate, like the Adamantine Legion, the etc., etc. We find that this format that explores a broader kind of angle allows to bring more into focus the unit lore when we actually dig a little deeper into it. We always make sure that no unit is released with no lore. It is always there. It is even on our eShop, which I understand is not necessarily the most intuitive place for you to look at it, but I think it is updated on the site as well, if I'm honest. I think all entries or unit entries are also on the site. I know they are shorter, but you can look at it another way, that this allows you to create your own kind of more specific iterations of the units while knowing the broad lines, the broad strokes that kind of paint a picture of the unit itself. So your regiments of the Steel Legion or your regiment of the Nord Raiders might have a completely different story than the generic one, and that is fine. That has always been fine with us. So broader lines, but still specific enough for you to be able to know what is kind of allowed within canon, because I actually get a lot of PMs on Discord as well that, will this be canon? If I do this, would it be canon? Apologies if I don't answer to everyone. I hope you understand that it can be a little overwhelming in terms of bulk. So we will return, but in a more selective manner. Like I think it was on a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago that we had exactly about an upcoming unit, the Kirikes, well, let's just say the centers of the Old Dominion. And that is because they have a very specific characteristic, which is they look much more alive, and we felt that this needed a lot more explanation than would be readily made apparent within one paragraph. So we felt that this kind of deserved more attention and a better explanation for you, so that you don't feel, but why? We don't want to leave you with question marks. I mean, of course, there will be question marks, but we don't want to leave you with big question marks, especially about stuff that you put on the table. So I don't know if I answered your questions at all. I was a lawyer, so I have a talent for not answering questions. So I hope this covers you. I do promise that we will, once, hopefully soon, our hands are a little untied by other projects, and I mentioned blatantly the RPG. It takes a lot of time just to make sure that we give you both the attention to rules and lore. It is very important to us that the two go hand in hand. We will continue to have our spotlights, and we will continue to have our living worlds. And those are drops in the ocean in terms of what the lore could offer. I understand this. it does leave also an open avenue for you to make your own stories, which we've always wanted, and we've made that clear from the beginning. So I hope this covers you, and this allows you to do what you want with your story, with your regiments, with your color schemes, with anything.
And as we're getting on 2 hours, I want to make sure to get everybody's questions in. I would like to let Dogs of Paint, who's had their hand up and is probably exhausted from holding it up, have a chance.
No problem. Quick point of networking. David Thomas, you said you're from Luxembourg?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't know. I don't find your nickname on the Discord. Maybe text me on Discord. It's the same name, Dogs of Paint, because we are close to you, and maybe we can network a little bit.
I love that.
Thanks.
That is beautiful.
Sorry for taking your time, guys. But
oh no, it's great. That's why we do this, is to bring people together.
Okay. I found you. I'll send you a message.
Oh, nice. Thanks.
Samuel, do you still have a question? No, you took it down and then raised it back up again. All right, Thomas, your turn. Thomas. You may be broken.
Yeah, I was.
There he goes.
Yeah, I was wondering, is there any way the league format and the factions could be done away? Is going to be done away with soon, and that it would start listing which sub-factions units would belong to again.
Leo, that's a question for you, brother.
I'm sorry. Would you mind repeating? Because I'm not entirely sure if I got it.
Basically, once the city-states and sorcerer kings came out, you all stopped mentioning what sub-factions the units belong to, and I was wondering if y'all would. Is there any way y'all could stop doing that?
So, sorry, if I'm not sure. We are not, or are we mentioning what's the faction? I'm sorry. Could you please rephrase? I'm not sure.
Let me type it. The train's pretty loud.
I'm sorry for I'm sorry for giving you trouble.
It's quite all right.
Let's see who's next. Carlos.
Yes. Yeah, I was hoping about if the First Blood now is incorporated with the World Tournament events, we will get something like a tournament pack or something like a distribution for the new scenarios. You know, as a Vanguard sometimes it's difficult to distribute the terrain in the events so everyone is happy with it. I don't know if we're gonna get something like a guide for distribute all the terrain with the new scenarios.
Yes, actually, this is something that we are going to launch together for both games, because this has been a request for both. So this is a point to work on both systems. I will say yes.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Gwendol.
Yes, me again. That would be a rule question, if that is all right.
Go. Please.
So, concerning the rules for checking for line of sight and obstruction, when checking for line of sight, you check from the center of the front rank of the
Gwendol, so we can, if you'd like, we can talk for specific examples. When it comes to rules, we can also go back and forth, because I know we talk directly. I think we can take that question in writing, and we can actually put diagrams there, because just by to answer a rules question, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you there, but to verbally answer these questions, it is much harder than just having, let's say, a visual aid. So I think it will be better if we can do it like this.
No problem. I'll send you a mail directly or a message. But we had a question in our chat, so I'll send it directly through written forms.
Thank you. I think, Thomas, are you set with your question with the written that Leo put?
Yes, I did answer. So the question for Thomas was whether we're going to list what subfaction the Sorcerer Kings and City States belong to. And my question is yes, but of course, and Scott actually made a very good point. There's two things. First of all, yes, we do want to mention what some factions they belong to, but we also want to be aware that as we come out with more factions, not every faction has a very clear and clear-cut structure as some of the factions we already know. Like in the Spires, the 100 Kingdoms, we can very clearly understand what some factions mean and what unit comes from which faction. But some other factions, like Scott very well mentioned, they're more thematically connected. So we are going to be looking at some factions into the army list and mentioning through the symbols, through those graphic pieces, this graphic art that we put. So you're going to see more of that, yes. But also keep in mind that not every faction will be maintaining this very clear-cut form of what belongs where.
David.
Yes, I have a bit of an odd question. So, bought the 2-player starter box, wasn't going to play City States, now definitely playing up all the City States. Was looking at the chariots, and I realized that, like, because your pricing's like all quite fair, like, you know, units or whatever, and I realized, like, on a pricing points of the chariots, they're probably quite a technical kit for you guys to design. It's quite a different project. Obviously, there's a whole business aspect and stuff of that. Was there ever a thought thrown into booing a box of, like, this is like the price of the monster, but you're also getting like 260 points, 2 chariots in a box? Was that ever a thing that crossed your guys' mind? Like a thing? Because obviously packaging and shipping and storing is all part of the cost involved in the kit. Was that ever something that crossed your guys' mind?
Well, I mean, we try. I mean, so if we did that and we put 2 chariots in a box and made it $139.99, I feel like that would have made it harder for people on a budget to add what is truly one of the coolest models we've come out with this year, in my opinion. So I would have probably fought that just from a pure. So my sales hat would be like, yay, more money. My marketing hat goes, yeah, not so great. So I think my marketing hat would have won that battle internally for me, devil and angel on both shoulders, saying marketing says make it more accessible. As it is, to your point, it is, you know, relative to some of the other models in our line, pricier than others, but I think everyone who's seen it recognizes the value that it is.
Oh, I am not disputing that whatsoever. I think it's a really, really nice kit, and it was just one of the ones that, you know, it's one of those ones where I was like, I mean, I was going to buy two straight away just because it's like there's 2 cool options and they're great, and they seem to add something nice to the City States from a list point of view. And yeah, I was just curious because I know some businesses out there like to do like, oh, this is something you might want 2 of. We do them in a little bundle. You might save a couple of bucks, but you know.
It doesn't really save us any money, honestly, in that regard. And I will say, having watched City States win in Singapore this weekend, the chariots looked really cool on the table. They really came. They looked so good.
I mean, this is the problem, right? I've just started my 4th army, you know.
We appreciate it, David. Thank you. Kang, you're up. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say nothing to thank me for. If you keep on making good models and supporting them well, I'm going to keep on buying stuff. It's as simple as that, right?
It is as simple as that, although it's not that simple. Kang lowered his hand, so I'm guessing we answered his question. Jordan.
Oh, no. I lowered it. Sorry, I lowered it because you called on me. My
okay.
Going back to your marketing hat, and this is a little bit of a throwback to like when we were first doing these. We talked about dungeon crawlers and First Blood and Last Argument of Kings all in one. Now I'm really curious, what do you think about like even more massive battles, but at an even smaller scale, Daryl?
You mean a smaller scale miniature?
Yeah, you know, like epic battle.
Yeah, so I mean, it comes up quite a bit. You know, here's the thing, honestly, is that's all new molds, right? And molds are expensive. And so to do that, that would, I mean, one, probably take us away from something we're doing now. And as it is, I think you get to see the fact that we are, you know, we're resourced to the best of our ability as a small company. But one of the things that I try to be very cautious about is how much we take on. And I think it's a cool concept. I don't think you're going to see it anytime soon. I hate to be the bearer of.
Oh, no. That's fine. I'll be with you guys for 10, 15 years. So
Appreciate it. I think it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
Jordan.
That's my question.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I mean, answer's probably no. Any chance that people working Gen Con for you guys might have a chance to buy that cool fish gnome on a laser shark early?
No, won't be.
Yeah.
It will not be ready that quick, unfortunately. They will have the Mahout. That'll be the newest piece that will arrive right before Gen Con.
Very cool. Thanks for answering that question. I gotta go, but I will talk to you all later.
See you in Indy.
See you in Indy.
Driz.
Hi, just one last question for Konstantinos. Is there plans, for example, to make a relayout from the Living World book 1? Because for new players, so I got the feedback from my community that for new people, reading the old lore is quite, let's say, tedious, and it's not as accessible as it could or should be, in my opinion. Just question on that one.
I hear you. I think that the archive was a step in the right direction. But yes, we have discussed and are still discussing about a way to kind of refine, polish, and maybe expand a little on the stories of book 1. You might notice that it's a big chunk of lore there. There are a lot of stories. So just the editing part, because remember that usually because of the way the Living World works, and because sometimes the voting is very close, those are written on the Friday you read them, all of them. So we know they're a bit hasty. We know there are mistakes that slip through the cracks. So we would like to go revisit them, polish them, and actually do them in a printable even format at some point. It is something that we have discussed. It is something that we're exploring. What would be the best way to do it, like time efficiency wise. So the answer is a tentative yes. There are plans, but they are in a very early stage, I must admit. Like it's a discussion we've been having for a long time, and we haven't quite figured how to cut that kind of Gordian knot there. We will, though. I'm confident we will.
I'm going to take one more question, and then we have to wrap this one up. It's been a wonderful amount of dialogue, and we're very grateful to you all. Rostislav, you're up.
Yeah, what do you think about Conquest paints, like some sort of merchandise?
Conquest paints?
Yeah.
I think there's lots of really great paints that already exist in the market. I don't know that Conquest needs to add to it, to be perfectly honest. Pick your favorite. I think there's a lot of really good ones. We obviously work with a lot of really good paint companies who we adore and love. So I don't think you're going to see us.
Not paints, pins, like for head.
Like pins.
Yeah.
Oh, we have our angry chicken pin. Sorry, I misunderstood. We have our angry chicken pin now that we do use at cons. And yeah, we always look to add little things like that. So when you see us at cons, we do have a few other things that we only make available at cons.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And through OP kits, I should say as well. So if you're doing organized play, a lot of those things come through OP as well. Okay. And yes, we will have First Blood OP kits for 2025. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Remember, August 8th, write to rules at para-bellum.com with any questions once you see the the digital book go live. And we look forward to seeing you at a con this summer. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for your time.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys. Bye-bye.
So, Leo.
Yes.
With that Founders exclusive,
Yes.
are we canonizing that the fish gnomes
No.
are in fact the heralds of famine? And this
No.
is the first sign that they're coming soon?
No.
So
I second this.
it's complicated. It's complicated.
No.
There are recent development to the lore. All canon. You heard it here first. So yeah, there is the aspect of the Heralds of Famine